Hi, everybody. Tyler with Seller Accountant here, and Happy New Year. It's as I'm sitting here, it's the first week of 2020. I hope you had a wonderful end of year. Happy holidays to you. I just wanted to give you a couple of notes on inventory because this is the time of year where my team is not just trying to finish December, which for a lot of our sellers is a really big month, but we're actually trying to get the entire year not just done, but fully reconciled through every, we have a normal quality assurance process each month, but we're actually doing an additional layer at the end of the year because this is the balance sheet, this is the P&L that's going to end up going to the IRS, it's going to be available for investors. And so it's just important to us that we get it right. And so one of the biggest challenges we have every year at this moment is just understanding how much inventory each of you have on an important date, right? Most of us are filing taxes with a fiscal year end of 12/31. And so understanding how many units, and more importantly from an accountant's perspective, how much value, how many dollars in inventory existed on the balance sheet on 12/31, that's A, really important, and B, can be kind of challenging. So I just want to talk through some of the common issues. And the first one is we got to know where your units are. For a lot of us who are Amazon sellers, a lot of our units are actually residing within the FBA network. Those are fairly easy. You can go into the fulfillment reports, you can get an inventory reconciliation report. Frankly, we can do this for you. Don't worry about this part of it. But my point is that Amazon's data is really easy to get to. The challenge is for any inventory that you own that isn't sitting fully captured within FBA. One example might be if you have a warehouse or you keep a few pallets in your garage or you have a 3PL. And then the second example would be if you have goods that are in transit. You have stuff that's sitting on a boat or on a plane or in a truck heading to Amazon or to your warehouse that you haven't captured yet. And so the first note that I'll give you here is we need your help going back and thinking through any POs, any containers that you may have ordered that are in transit. These are units that we need to capture the value for, but they're not going to be in a normal inventory report. And then the second thing, which I guess was actually the first one I mentioned, is anything sitting in a 3PL in your garage, in your own warehouse, that wouldn't, again, be captured by Amazon. We need your help understanding how many units of each SKU you have. The second step, once you understand how many units how many SKUs, units per SKU you have, now we got to assign a dollar value. And so we've been doing this throughout the year. We've been creating a average value per unit of SKU A versus SKU B. And so we'll then take those average dollar values, take the number of units that you can help us come up with plus what we find within Amazon, and we can then calculate a fairly defensible ending inventory number. So in the unlikely event that we were to get audited, we've got a spreadsheet that says, no, here we had 100 of these, we had 200 of these, we had 300 of these, and here's the ending value that we're going to associate with that inventory. And then the last thing I'll mention here that can be kind of an interesting caveat when it comes to inventory management is have you paid for the inventory yet? And so we want to know where the units are, the ones that we own. Is it FBA? Is it a warehouse? Is it in the house? Is it in transit? We want to know how much value there is per unit, which for the most part, Seller Accountant is already going to have that. And then thirdly, we're going to try to understand, do we have any terms? In other words, on 12/31/19, did we partially pay for a container and we still owe some money? In other words, legally, we own this entire container for, say, $100,000 worth of goods, but we've only paid for 50,000 of it. Well, man, that's really important information for the accounting team to know so that we can load that accounts payable or that liability onto your balance sheet, make everything balance up really, really nice. And then the flip side of it could be true, where you had to pay a deposit, say, of 20%, but they haven't even manufactured the goods yet. They haven't shipped them to you. And so those are the two things that kind of, from a financial standpoint, complicate your ending inventory calculation, is that we have some sellers that have both. They've partially paid for one container, they've prepaid for another container, and there's no shortcuts here. We can kind of get away with shortcutting this most of the year. But for the end of the year, we need you to be a little bit more detail-oriented and help us determine, again, where are the units, so that we make sure we kind of have all of them, and then how much value are we assigning to those units, and then thirdly, again, just kind of the final point here is, have we paid for all the units or have we not? Because that will allow the accounting team to go back and say, okay, were the right number of dollars, spent out of the checking account, out of the credit card, and do those actually reconcile with the number of units we say we still have? So I hope this is helpful. This is kind of an off-the-cuff video, so forgive me for not being as polished with it, but I just wanted to get you guys some notes. We need to know how many units you have that are not readily available within Amazon, and we need to try to understand anything like an in-transit or a deposit that might change the cash reconciliation of those units. So thanks again. Happy New Year. Grateful for you guys. And we're going to be working to get everything really tightened down and get to you here in the next week or so.